Okay, welcome everyone to Warrior Women in Business podcast, episode 44. I have such a special guest today. I'm really super excited for this conversation. Before we get started, there's a lot I actually have to cover. So first of all, for those of you that aren't familiar with Warrior Women in Business and its mission, Warrior Women in Business is a women's organization that has been developed to bring female leaders to female entrepreneurs, to provide them actionable advice and insight and services. We are a digital marketing and branding agency for female entrepreneurs. We have events, programs, and we do a lot to support the community as well. We are just coming off of a really great event in Beverly Hills. I want to thank everyone that showed up for the event. It was in July, and we had, I think, about 150 women there at Cafe Roma. I'm wearing our new Warrior Women in Beverly Hills tank top. We have a clothing brand where any of the proceeds, we raise 5 to 10% for women with disabilities, women in the local communities in New York and Beverly Hills. You can check that out on warriorwomenbusiness.com. I want to thank our podcast sponsor, MXL Microphones, for continuing to support female entrepreneurs and women in business. So with all that being said, I want to talk about who I am, today's guest. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jasmine Sandler. I've been speaking and supporting women in business for about 15 years now, particularly in personal brand development and career development. And I have a true mission in helping female entrepreneurs and female in the arts grow. You can check out more on warriorwomenbusiness.com. And I had the pleasure of getting invited to an exclusive PGA Women's Clinic golf tournament that is headed by our guest today for episode 44, Jane Blalock. Jane, do you want to say hello to the audience?
Oh, absolutely do. And Jasmine, it's so nice to see you again. And it was a pleasure to meet you at our clinic at Old Oaks in New York.
Yeah, it was really, I was telling people how outstanding it was on about a million levels. First of all, it was probably the best golf course I've ever been to. It felt like we were in a fairy tale land, right? And yeah,
it was not your normal golf course. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely not your normal golf course. Felt like it was a passport to another country. And but more importantly, it was really about women, bringing women together in a setting that my background's with IBM, and I played enough golf to know that the boys club does really well on the golf course when it comes to doing business together. And I'm just so happy, Jane, what you're doing to help to bring women together in a setting that they're maybe not normally used to doing business in a way that they can really nurture and develop each other. So that being said, I just want to give a quick bio for Jane and then get into some questions. So first of all, again, I'm very honored, Jane, to have you on today. Thank you for taking the time out. Jane Blalock is the CEO of the PGA Women's Clinics, which I was lucky to attend. I also want to thank my bank, the Bank of America, because without them, I wouldn't have been able to go. The PGA Women's Clinic is presented by AIG. It's a nationwide series of full-day clinics tailored to women, which is really cool. Jane has won 27 titles on the LPGA Tour and still holds the record across all professional golf tours today for most consecutive cuts made at 299. You're going to have to tell us all about that, Jane. Yeah. Following her successful tour career, Jane founded a nationwide series of golf clinics in the 90s to get more executive women into the game. And what I found was interesting in my experience was there were actually women of all ages there, from startup entrepreneurs to seasoned entrepreneurs to executives. So it's really nice. Today, Jane at the helm, the PGA Women's Clinic has served over 47,000 women across the country. That's amazing. Congratulations. While employing hundreds of female PGA, which I was lucky enough to have a very, very amazing coach, and I used her skills the week after. Hundreds of female PGA and LPGA certified coaches to implement the program. So I'm going to just jump right into the questions. So first of all, I'm sure I really haven't come across anybody like you, honestly, Jane. So that's why I asked you to be on the podcast. We want to know, how did you choose a career in golf and how did you commit to it?
Well, it's not your typical journey into a professional sport. I was actually fortunate because in my era, there were not many opportunities for women in sports. So there was no soccer, there was no lacrosse, there was no basketball. So by default, golf became my place to go. And so when I was,
Oh, there you are. We lost you on video for a minute. Thank you. This is Jane, everybody. We had some technical issues. So yeah, so go ahead. Tell us about your career in golf.
oh, when I was 13, the neighborhood was full of boys, and they all went to caddy at the local golf course, and they took me with them. So that's how I learned to play golf. My parents did not play, which is very unusual for any young person picking up the game. And still, going on to high school, there was still nothing for young girls to do. So golf was my outlet, something I could, exercise. I could get outdoors. I could be with the boys, and it was just it was just really fun. And so I said, what could have been a negative with no opportunities turned into a real positive for me. So very fortunate. And then professional golf was the last thing I was planning on doing. I had won the New Hampshire Amateur. Now I realized New Hampshire is not a hotbed for golf. Our season before climate change was about 3 months.
Right,
and,
of course.
and most of the great golfers came from Texas and California and Florida, where they had, golf 12 months of the year. And so I taught high school. After college, I taught history and government. And then it was just kind of a comment my mother had made to me. She said, you're a pretty good golfer. You don't ever want to go through life ever wondering what if. So give everything a chance. So
Good
with
for
that
her.
said, I jumped into Volkswagen Bug and drove to Florida and sought out this very well-known teacher named Bob Toski. And he offered to give me some lessons for free. And he gave me a job picking up range balls and working in the shop. And so I decided maybe this may be more interesting than teaching. So to fast forward, I thought I'd try the professional tour for a year. Then I would go back to graduate school. Well, that master's degree never happened. And I ended up winning a tournament in my first year. And from that point forward, it just kind of, life was exciting. I got to travel the world, and I saw the world as a local, not as a tourist. So I'd say it had a pretty happy ending. Everything worked out very well for me.
Yeah, I love what your mom said. I think it's really important that we have that female support and someone that's says to you, don't regret and go for it. And it was, it's not, I think that it's not for everybody, certain things, and if it's your calling. And now look what you're doing. I mean, you're helping like 47,000 plus women. It's
Right.
honestly, it's really cool. It's really cool. So I'm gonna keep going. Okay. So, and thank you for getting on camera. We like missed your lovely face. Okay. So let's talk about what I generally talk about on this podcast, which is breaking barriers for women. So you, I think, definitely exemplify that, right? So can you share what has driven you to do so? And is there any singular reason why you have made this your mission? I'm specifically talking about, obviously, the clinics and what you do there.
Well, I think it's something innate in me. My father was a newspaper editor, and he always kind of told me that see something wrong, fix it, don't stand on the sideline. And he was just so ethical about everything. And so when I was playing professional golf, you look at the prize money the men were playing for versus the women, the television exposure. I mean, it was apples and oranges. And then as my career in golf continued, the purses narrowed a little bit. But if you want to call 7-1, 8-1 narrowing, then there you have it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
it was really beyond my golf career. I came into Boston and I worked in the financial business. for about 5 years. And I took every opportunity to play. And if it's a charity event, a corporate event, various financial conferences. And it didn't take long to figure out I was usually the only woman on the golf course. And I would ask some of the, my male counterparts, I'd say, well, where are the women? He said, they're in meetings where you can't talk. And here we are.
Wow.
Out here on the court talking. And it was at the point where it was not unusual, or I didn't even notice that I was the only woman in the room at, various dinners, cocktail parties. And so I would ask the women at these, various golf events, why aren't you playing in golf? Why aren't you playing in this event? And they said, well, we're not good enough. We're not comfortable. And we don't want to be vulnerable in front of our peers. And I would just start laughing. So going back to breaking the barriers, I said, well, I have to do something about this. Going back to my father's advice, don't stand on the sideline and let something that you think is wrong happen. So I created a program back in 1990 that was going to make women more comfortable, to encourage them to join in as opposed to standing on that sideline.
Wow, I love it. Yeah, so it takes someone to start that, ignite that, and that's interesting. That's interesting how much that's changed, right? Or maybe it has. I don't really know. But the piece that you said about the women are in meetings where they can't talk is very interesting to me. I wonder if that's still pervasive, and if you see that, if you hear that when you're talking to women, like if you get a sense of women saying, "Oh God, like I'm so happy to be out here because I'm able to have a conversation." You know what I mean?
It has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
And I have, and which, I wish I could say I was solely responsible for that.
Well, yeah.
But I'd like to think maybe we had some small part in it. But it's been fascinating seeing the difference in our clinics, the number of participants. And you made reference to it earlier, the age gap. I mean, we have those young 20s to those in the mid 60s, maybe even beyond. And so the younger generation, they're not to be deterred. They're going to say, they have seen the guys out there and I'm going to be there too. Not that you have to be like the guys, but it's more, this is an opportunity where I can meet people, where I can network, and I can do it in a quiet environment. And in Jasmine, it's just, it's a fact, the relationships that developed during a round of golf they're so solid. Once you have spent 4 to 5 hours with a person and you both hit good shots, you miss the ball.
It goes in the water a million times in my case.
You laugh together, you commiserate, you root each other on. Mm-hmm. It does something. And I wish I could put it in words, but just trust me, it creates a very, very special bond.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I've been playing golf a while, and that's why it was so refreshing. I'd never ever seen anything with women's golf and never invited to it. So it's very refreshing. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. All right, so you've had so many consecutive successes, and never mind in golf, right? In women in business, it's especially women in small business, it's difficult to have consecutive successes. And I talk to a lot of the women on my podcast, and they have different reasons why they've obtained successes. And I'm not talking about short-term wins. I'm more interested in long-term success for women that are smart, capable, talented in their specific areas. But some of them just, they'll burn out, or they don't have the support, or they don't know where to get the support. Can you talk a little bit about where do you think you could attribute your successes, your consecutive successes over time?
Well, I really, thinking back, when I contemplated starting my own business, I said to myself, well, wait a minute, I don't need business experience. Yes, I had my 5 years in finance and, in some sales roles and doing research and taking exams. And so, okay, I'm not a golfer anymore. But what I realized is that okay, how did I become a successful golfer? How did I win golf tournaments? So I thought about it and I wrote some thoughts down. So how did I become a great golfer? I was disciplined. I focused. I would never give up. I set goals, and I knew it was long term. It wasn't short term, because learning to play golf is rather a long journey. I'm still working on my golf game.
It's true.
So
Right?
it really is using that mindset of an athlete and always striving and always wanting to get better. Once you achieve a certain goal, once you win a tournament, you want to win another. Oh, wait a minute. No, I want to win 3. And now I want to be number 1. So you keep again, that bar just keeps getting higher and higher. And that's exactly how I approach my business. I left no stone unturned. I still don't. And it was, it's a process, and it's, so I won 27 tournaments and I played in over 500. So I guess I lost a lot more than I won.
Yeah.
How to deal with rejection, how to deal with failure.
Yes. It's huge.
You just kind of suck it up, as they say, and say, okay, I'm going to learn from that mistake. I'm going to get better. I believe in myself. I believe in what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to continue. So I'm definitely a glass half full person. And so I'm convinced it's my power of the positive, and, always looking beyond, and looking to the sun. I had this poster, you look toward the sun, you don't see the shadows.
I love that. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the quick way to talk about successes. And again, it's just that mindset from becoming a better golfer.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, those things are so important, especially a couple of things I think that can help women is, the long-term lookout. The long-term look is something that I think is difficult for women in business, the long-term look, because much is happening all the time, and having that long-term look. And in golf, it's a perfect example, because you know what I do when I go up to the tee? I say, "Where's the flag?" And they always say, "Why do you ask where the flag is?" I'm like, "Because I want a goal." And they say, "No, wait a minute. You have to get on. You have to get on first." So I'm so guilty of it. I mean, I'm just being really honest here. And I think a lot of women in business, it's having the long-term outlook is probably the thing that maybe a lot of them are missing. So,
well, immediate gratification doesn't really work in anything. And particularly women, I think, probably in the world of business, you see some of our male counterparts having maybe some fast successes because of their tips and their bonding.
Yes.
And I want that too. And so that's when you have to dig deep and become introspective and say, okay, I'm really good. I'm going to continue being the best that I can. And I'm going to get better at my networking. I'm going to get better at my relationship development, because in the world, and certainly in business, it's not just how good you are. It's a lot of it is who you know, get there, and never to be shy about reaching out and asking for support and asking for help, and just letting everyone else know that I am good.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, thank you for that. It was probably my most important question, because I think it's just a real pain point for women. Okay, let's talk about, you touched on this a little bit, but I really want to dig more into, in women's golf versus men's golf, where does the support come in? Do you see a difference between men's golf and women's golf in terms of support, and what does that look like?
It's changed in the last 2 to 3 years. My gosh, has it changed? That you look at, the obvious of the sponsorships, and it shouldn't be about, but the success of a tournament quite often is measured by money. So, for example, just yesterday, you had the AIG Women's Open, which was formerly the British Open. And AIG raised the bar. They raised the purse from $6 million the previous year to $9 million this year. Now, you look at percentages, a huge increase.
Pretty big, yeah.
The U.S. Women's Open raised the purse to $11 million this year. And now, yes, the men are playing for closer to 20, but now the gap, but now you're talking 2 to 1. But more companies, you got Chevron it's the old Dinah Shore stepping up, AIG, so the USGA. And then what happens, that attracts other companies going, wait a minute. So corporate America is really stepping up, and even those with male CEOs. I think that's important because this whole movement with what women's soccer has done, WNBA is seeing successes. This move to equality is there. I mean, it's a real thing. It used to be just, talk. I can't tell you.
Of course, yeah.
Spoke to 10 years ago, oh, we really care about equality and diversity and inclusion. Yeah, well, show me. And they would have a division, but no one ever did anything. They'd go have lunches together and talk about it. So, and again, when I sometimes speak at our clinics, I talk about the companies that support us. They are really putting their money, where their convictions are. So I am seeing a big difference there. And also now you get the top teachers in the country, golf teachers. They're now, many of them working with the LPGA, with the women pros, along with the men pros. The training facilities on site are not quite equal, but close to it. Manufacturers, Callaway Golf, as you recall, is our sponsor. They've been fantastic. And I love their clubs, but now they are top of the line women's clubs, whereas not that long ago.
That's a beautiful thing.
It was a knockoff men's club. They put colored grip on it, pink grip on it, and put butterflies on the club face, and now you have a women's club. But now it's devoted to R&D. I mean, now you're seeing it. It's everywhere, and the results are evident because it's how well women golfers are doing.
Yeah, that's really nice. So I come from a hockey background, and I think we're in the hockey world. We're finally starting to see changes. And weirdly, it's just lagged behind so much, especially in the equipment. All the equipment used to be, well, you got to fit into this chest pad, and well, men don't have chests and women do, so it really makes no sense. It's pretty funny. And I did buy teal green clubs because I thought they were women's clubs, but I was like, the men's clubs are better, and I want a men's club made for a woman. So years ago, so I'm really happy to hear that. I mean, it's just so important that women are being taken seriously enough for, like you said, the money, decreasing that gap, so important, and then the companies getting involved. And so it's very nice.
And I think one more example is, our title is the, PGA Women's Clinics. Well, the PGA is, you think of, that's men, right?
That's right. It was funny because when I read that, I did a double take. So, but go ahead.
Well, it's a PGA of America, and they are really, really trying to promote women, get more women into the game, get more women to the teaching ranks or the coaching ranks of golf. And so, they are making a real investment because they positioned us as their kind of grassroots program to grow the game for women. So now you've got a PGA organization saying this is important. That makes an enormous statement.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a stepchild. And I feel like with the NBA, I watch a lot of what's been going on, those movements, because I've had clients in female sports marketing, and I feel that the NBA has been trying to do that for a long time with the WNBA. And I my own opinion on that is I think the NBA should own that a little bit better, the way that the PGA is doing, because I feel like it gives it this real credibility, this real, hey, we're really supporting you. And I think that's what it needs. I don't know. I watch these things, so it's very pleasant for me to see that and be involved in it too. Okay, so another question. So how pervasive is golf, do you think, for women in business? Like you're involved with the clinics. So talk a little bit about like the average group of women or profile of women that attend the clinics, maybe repeat women, and what do they do for a living? Just so we understand who's currently going to the clinics now and where do you see it going?
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good question. And we actually, I did, wasn't really a survey. I just kind of went through all of our participants and their job titles, their level. And we are getting more and more C-level women. We have a lot of EVPs and a lot of VPs. So I would say 90% of our attendees are women who are really moving up the corporate ladder and really understand the value and the importance of learning a skill like golf, again, which I don't want to be redundant, which opens up so many doors. It opens up doors, obviously, the external where you meet people, but internally finding mentors. I think that's finding mentors within a company. When you can communicate on a different level or on the same level, let me say, with your male peers, even those who are above you, boy, does that make a big difference. You can talk fantasy football with them, but
That's
if you
right.
all for say, boy, did you watch that playoff at the FedEx event yesterday? And that, I mean, that helps. Now you develop these internal relationships, which are so important as far as you want to a better job. You want to have support internally, and I think that is essential.
Yeah, I think I do think it's essential. You can't really develop relationships in the standard going to a bar and networking when it's very loud. I think that golf opens that up. And I love the part about mentoring, because I feel that what's interesting is, at least in my experience, and I've been playing golf a while, believe it or not, I still stink, but is you can ask questions. It's just such a nice open field, no pun intended, to be able to ask questions of others and get to know people, and people at different levels. And I feel that in golf, they are very humble,
Oh, it's a non-intimidating environment. You're able to ask questions or to have conversations they would never ever have in someone's office. It's you're again, you're out there, you're sharing a sport together. And the beauty of golf is that, unlike any other sport, you can play alongside those with a totally different skill level and absolutely enjoy it. So that really that opens so many doors. So you don't have to find someone that is your equal.
No.
And men can play with women, and young people can play with older people. And again, that's one thing that makes it so very special.
Yeah, I agree. I really agree. I mean, I made my biggest deal on a golf course.
Yep.
I mean, that was it. And I kept saying, I want to go back to golf. I want to go back to golf, because it wasn't even trying to just get to know people. And
well, let me add one more thing too. I think it's important for any women in business to let others, especially as superiors in the company, know that they play golf or they want to play golf. Because they're always looking, any company, if they're involved in a charity event, they're always looking for women to participate. And the important thing is, never to say, I'm not good enough. Just get out there and do it and join in and be with people.
Yeah. I mean, you don't regret it. And then you say, I just took a day off to play golf, and you kind of feel good about yourself. So, because you're doing work, it's just on the golf course, and you're learning.
Yeah, you're doing work. In many cases, it's more valuable than advanced degrees.
Believe me, I agree with you. Okay, so I always ask my guests this question. When you hear the term warrior women in business, or warrior women, what comes to mind?
I think those in battle is that, but in the battlefield, being the office, again, always striving, always having to try to get better, always trying to, I like the small victories, always trying to win something, always trying to advance. But I think we all have our battle scars, any woman and true warriors, because the battles may be as simple as convincing the other women in your office to be supportive. That's always a battle. Getting your boss to recognize you, that's a battle. Getting invited to those elite events. So it's one struggle after another. And so that's what I think about.
Yeah. And it is about winning small battles, especially for women in business that are serious. So excellent. I love it. Okay. Let's talk about you as a golfer. You know, I said to Jane, can we be on the golf course for this podcast? I'm much happier that way, but we just couldn't make it happen. But anyway, so let's talk about where can people watch any tutorials of you golfing, your skills, like where can they see that, watch that, hear that? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, we have we have a great website, and there are many. So our website is PGA Women's Golf Clinics. And from that, we have our fabulous 4 Fridays newsletter. So you can subscribe, and 4 Fridays comes out every Friday. As I do a lot of interviews on that. It has tips, it has videos. And the PGA Women's Clinics also has an Instagram account, which has many, many tutorials. A couple for me, but from all of our finest coaches and instructors, the women. And so I think those are great. Those are all great resources. But our 4 Fridays is a fabulous newsletter.
Yeah, I read it. I really liked it. It was so informative and helpful in a number of ways. And we're going to put all of this in the show notes for everyone. So thank you for mentioning this. So I have one bonus question for you because we have a couple of minutes left.
Okay.
So who are your female role models, golf, non-golf? And do you or have you had specific mentors that have helped light the way for your career?
Interesting. I really have not had mentors, except I mentioned the advice from my parents earlier. Maybe it's my generation. But, a question I'm asked occasionally, if you had a foursome, who would you want in your final foursome?
Oh, that's a good question.
Now, I'm a wine collector.
Nice.
So name Helen Turley. She's innovative, the first woman to really knock it out of the park, just incredible wine. So Helen Turley is one. I absolutely, Babe Zaharias, a golfer, but much more than a golfer, Olympic athlete, just said, would never take no for an answer. She won tournaments battling cancer. I mean, just a phenomenal.
Wow.
And I only met her once. I never had a chance to play alongside of her. And I really wish that I had. My favorite golfer with whom I played was Mickey Wright. We lost her about a year ago, but just even the guys say the greatest golf swing ever, male or female.
Wow. And
then Dinah Shore. We had our very first Dinah Shore tournament 52 years ago now in Springs at Mission Hills. And you have to be a certain age to remember Dinah, but she was remarkable. And Colgate Palmolive put her name on our tournament. She'd never played golf. She was a tennis player. She learned. She came to every tournament. I played with her in the Pro-Am, and she hit a bad shot. And she'd get so mad, was competitive. And so she was charming and so supportive of women. And I was very fortunate to have known her.
Oh. Well, those are some great women that you mentioned, people that you mentioned. And it sounds like they've all made their own successes as well. So I'm gonna look them up, especially the Olympian. I hadn't heard of her, so that's a very impressive story. Okay, so we are going to put in the show notes all of the sites that you mentioned, definitely the 4 Fridays. And I think if you could, one question I didn't ask, which is an obvious one, is about the clinics themselves for women that Warrior Women members, non-Warrior Women members. I mean, Warrior Women in Business is in New York and Beverly Hills. So I'm wondering, how can women take advantage of these clinics? Do you have anything lined up? Is there something coming up soon that you want to mention, or any calendar you want to mention?
Well, it's the calendar is on our website. Again, I want to refer to the PGA Women's Golf Clinics. It has our locations, it has the dates, kind of fills you in on what to expect.
Okay.
And I said the entire agenda, but I would just have to say they are just the feedback we've had. And I obviously you enjoyed your day because you wouldn't be talking to me. So
happy. Yeah.
We've had the comments, you changed my life. I took your advice and I joined into our corporate outing and I rode in the cart with our CEO. So
Wow, that's a good one.
all good, really, really good things.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate what you're doing for women. You know, it's important, and you're doing it in a way that's a social setting, which, as someone that's been the president of a few women's organizations, I've been yearning for that and pushing for that, and I don't see much of that. I see the same old patterns in business networking for women, and I think this is something that's unique. It's interesting. It's fun. It can really uplift women and it helps them dare a little bit, which is, I think, a lot what we've been talking about today, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I just, I could offer advice all day long, but one thing I hate to see, if it's golf or a reception, don't spend time with people you know. Branch out, take a risk, go meet new people, get out of your comfort zone. And I think that makes such a big difference.
100%. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on today. It's been a pleasure. I learned a lot. A lot of the questions are for me. No, they're for the audience, but I did learn a lot. And we're going to, anything that was mentioned today in the podcast, we're going to put in the show notes. This podcast, episode 44, will be edited and shared with everyone, as well as the show notes. If you want to get in touch with Jane, you can visit the website and the other outlets that she mentioned. And I actually hope you all take advantage of these clinics. I got to tell you, I after the clinic, I played with this men's group 2 days later, and I felt like a hot shot. I just got up there on the men's tee, and I was like, let's go. I just came from the PGA women's clinic. And they're like, who are you? So it was awesome. And it was a really great experience. You learn a lot. You meet great people like Jane. So I would encourage people to take advantage of it.
Well, keep up the good work, Jasmine.
You're welcome. Again, thank you so much. So this is Jasmine Sandler, host and CEO of Warrior Women in Business. If you want to learn more about Warrior Women in Business, it's warriorwomenbusiness.com. We can learn about upcoming podcasts, events, and branding programs that we have going. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Signing off.